Good morning. You look really tired.
Hello.
Eric is recovering from going to see Suicide Squad late last night with our 15-year-old. So he's he's awake, I promise. I hope everybody has had a good week so far. And I think we figured out sort of what happened last week, but I also would like to do I'd also like to I'm going to check out some other options just because I think it would be awesome if we could all be video on here together. I know some people love that, some people don't love that. But, so if you've got questions now, just go ahead and ask them in the comments. But I thought we would talk about recovering rhythm and sort of see how everybody did with a second week on rhythm. And I'm hoping you're seeing how temperament, holding the space and rhythm are really starting to flow together, and how one sort of really helps feed the other one. And I thought I would let you talk about first, like why, from a dad's perspective, why you think rhythm is so important. Because I think it's really easy for dads to go, I don't get this. This is something you do during the day.
It makes things flow more smoothly, and it makes for happier people.
It does, because there's like less fighting. And I was even thinking, like, when you worked outside of the home, um, like the rhythm that we kept then, because we had to keep rhythm. It was even more. I mean, I find rhythm like super important all the time, but I was thinking, it seems like if I look back on those times, because our kids were a lot younger, it was even more important, I think, in some aspects then than it is now. Because we didn't just have to wrangle four little kids. We also had to wrangle your work schedule, and we had one car, and there was if we hadn't really been on it, I think it would have been like way harder.
Well, and plus now where we have a situation where we have a teenager, a kid that's 10, and then a 5-year-old. And
Oh my gosh.
there's all these different needs, and there's
Yes.
things that one kid wants to do that the other kids really can't or shouldn't do.
Totally.
And then sometimes there's conflict, and sometimes Sam's like, I really just want to watch these shows,
Right.
and no, Soraya's
Not
shouldn't
old
watch
enough for
that,
that.
and all these different things to wrangle because there's all these like very
Different
different
age groups.
pieces that
Absolutely.
need to
Well,
mesh.
we really have, and we've always had kids in each of the 7 year. If you know about Steiner 7 year cycles, we have kids. We've always had kids in each of the 7 year cycles. So we've always had to sort of be mindful of those cycles, and I think too. I think one of the things that really helps us with our rhythm, and we talk about this I talk about this in some of our homeschooling work, is we have a weekly family meeting every week. And when we don't have it, our week ends up being such a mess. So it's like a huge priority to us. And it ends up being Sunday at lunch after church.
Yeah, because
And yeah,
well, we had that the week with Comic Con,
oh,
and we didn't have any meeting.
we didn't. And then the week after
Sunday
it
was
was crazy.
Sunday was the recovery day,
Yeah,
and trying to get caught up on all the rest and sleep deprivation and everything, and then the week started, and
it was kind of
it was
crazy.
just kind of our head above water that whole week because we didn't have that time to organize.
Absolutely. I think in retrospect, if we had made sure we had that meeting, then it would have been a lot easier. I think we wouldn't have felt like we were in recovery as long.
Yeah.
So, how old were your kids when they were involved in family meetings? 5, all of them. I mean, Sarai often floats in and out, but I like all of them to sort of know what's going on, and they're not super long meetings. And if it ends up having to be like family council, which is sometimes it ends up doing that, which is when we have like a deeper conversation that we need to have, then we absolutely let the littler ones go, or find something else for them to do. But um,
Well, we've had meetings where it ended up going a long time because there was some issue that we needed to address, and then
right.
I can remember thinking, I never expected that this was going to be a can of worms today.
Well, yeah, because I think when you do those family meetings and you sort of hold family council together, um, it gives them opportunities to bring things up that you didn't even think they were thinking about.
Yeah.
You know, we've had that happen several times of, you know, it gives them opportunities to say, well, I'm not really loving that, or this is really bothering me. And they may not bring it up in another way. Even though we're home with them all day long, they may not bring it up in another way. And so that family council or that family meeting that we have every week really helps us to connect with what it is that's on their mind, and it helps them to sort of see what's on our mind. And yeah, so how do you make it visual for your ASD kid when he was? You know what? I didn't. We never altered things for Harry. We didn't make it visual for him at all. In fact,
I mean, there's time. I mean, we'd have a calendar out.
absolutely.
Maybe,
Well, I
so-
mean the calendar,
Yeah.
absolutely the calendar. I mean that is the visual, and we have a rhythm chart that's a visual. But as far as like the meeting itself goes, the meeting itself is really just coming together and discussing what's happening. And it seems like it was Harry actually that was the first one to mess up on the calendar, because we sort of have a rule: if you don't bring it up in the family council or in the family meeting, and it's not on the calendar, then it doesn't happen. So if you have something you want to do that week, you need to bring it up during that meeting, and that really forces them. Not like when they're really little. When they're, you know, like even Sam's age at 10, I'm like making sure, is there something that you need to have done? Do you have an assignment for church? Do you have something that you need to do? Because if I don't prompt him, he often won't say. But by the time they're about 12, and definitely by the time they're 14 and 16, if they don't bring it up in family council, it doesn't happen. And it's happened more than once, and it seems like it was Harry that it did happened with the first time. It was some scouting thing, and I said, you didn't put it on the calendar, you didn't discuss it with us, it's not happening, sorry. And
Because we've had days where we were all doing something.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be over here at this time, and it's like, well, I didn't know about that until.
that's when
You
I
just
say
said
you
it.
let your adult leaders know that you didn't plan very well, and next time you plan better. And we absolutely, you know, everybody makes mistakes, and everybody messes up from now and again, from time and again. So if there's a way, especially if they're like, I'm so sorry, I forgot to put this on the calendar, then if there's a way, we try to make it happen. If they're like all angry and irritated and pissed off about it, then I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
That it totally depends on how it's brought to us.
The whole lack of planning on
Yes.
your part is not an emergency.
Exactly. And so
Yes.
it's definitely something that as they become teenagers that you really want to start working on. But I start working on it when they're little. That's why I say I ask Sam, when we have that family meeting, is there something that you have this week? And he doesn't have a ton of activities, but his sensei may say something in karate that I may need to know about, or his Sunday school teacher may have said, "Hey, you've got the prayer next week," or "Hey, you've got to talk next week." And so I need to know those things so that I can help make sure he's getting them done. And so I will probe and say, is with the different situations they're in and the different adults that they're with during the week, what do you have going on? And I think that really that helps, especially when they're that young, and it helps them also with recall as they get older. And I'll go through each child at the table and say, Eleanor, are you sure there's nothing else you need to put on this calendar this week? Sam, are you sure? Because I want each one of them to know that I have called them by name and made sure that I am talking to them about that family calendar. And so I posted it on the group in somebody's thread, and I'm happy to post it in a main thread. We keep a paper calendar. So Eric and I keep, and actually Ellie too, because she's got a smartphone. Everybody's smartphone is synced to my email. And it's only synced to mine because I end up with the most appointments on mine. So that way they all know when I've got clients in the morning. They all know when, I've got other things to do. And so we all sync it to the Waldorf Essentials email. And that way everybody knows what's going on. And then everybody that has a calendar is responsible for putting their stuff on it. So like Ellie went to her youth group last night and say that they had something that they were going to do next week. She needed to make sure it was on the calendar. So that way it's kind of too deep, she's got it on the digital calendar. And then when we sit down to talk about it family wise, because there have been times where she's put a bunch of stuff on the digital calendar, like church dances, and she's totally forgotten about them. And that's a good thing it was on the calendar, because
Yeah.
otherwise it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a huge proponent of it. And even if it seems like, gosh, your kids are so little and this doesn't make any sense because they don't have any outside commitments, get in the habit of having a family meeting, because I think too it makes you and I very accountable to each other. I think that then Eric knows, and we actually have, because we run a business together, we have business meetings on a regular basis throughout the week. But on Sunday, I'm in this planning mode, and so he knows he'll say, "What's the workload this week?" And that way, he can start planning. If he's got kids, especially this summer, he's had kids sometimes 3 days a week while I've worked. And so that way he can start planning. Okay, we're going to the library, we're going to this park, and if we didn't have that family meeting, that wouldn't give him that extra opportunity to sort of plan out his own rhythm with the kids. And so, that makes it, I think, super important for that.
Yes, and I mean, lately I've been doing it more, but I've been taking kids out, clearing the house so that Melissa has some peace to work on some of the projects in front of her. And they want to know.
Usually he takes them 1 day a week, 2 days a week tops. But
they want to know, where are we going, and then what, and
right.
then what, and then what happens after that.
Kids want to know. It really helps them have security.
Yeah, they want to know, especially when they get older and they start to question whether you know what you're talking about or you're doing. They want to feel. I think it makes them feel safe.
Yeah.
That you're in charge and you know what's going on and you can tell them that. But it doesn't mean that things always happen the way you plan.
No,
because sometimes things happen, and it's like they like to go to the library downtown. That's over by Petco Park where the Padres play, and the library offers up its parking to people going to the ball game, and they up the parking from being free 2 hours of validation. It goes from 20, 30 for Comic-Con. They sell they want $40, and then it's like, well, I'm not paying $20 to go park at the library, so we're gonna go find something else to do.
But usually you're on top of the ball game schedule.
Usually I've got an idea.
He looks at the. That's one good thing about Google is that Google lets you know.
Because sometimes before I go out, it's like, are they playing today? Because I don't end up in a mess, and then I can plan accordingly. But sometimes I don't plan, and I'm flying by the seat of my pants, and then I have to deal with disappointment or then I have the oh no, Dad doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, and I do think that they behave better. They totally behave better. And so, if you guys are working on behavioral issues, especially maybe when Dad's in charge, and maybe Dad, you're so really working on figuring out this rhythm thing, I think you should really think about this, because I think that behavioral issues come when rhythm is off and when kids aren't.
If they feel like parents don't exactly have a plan, they don't know what they're doing, or they start to, because things are being unpredictable, they get anxious, they get anxiety, they can act out, or they start fighting each other.
Well, I think those are just key times when they're acting out, and it's not because they're bad kids. It's just because they don't feel that security. And of course you want to make them resilient too. And we work on resilience. And so that means that when you're out, tired?
A bit, yeah.
That means that when you're out, if you know that you have to make a course correction, that you let them know as soon as possible, and that you sort of alter that. And sometimes when I've got them and we have to do that, I'll just pull the car over so that we can have a little powwow, because it's a lot harder to sort of make a course correction where everybody is on the same page if I'm just shouting while I'm driving. And so it's easier to just sort of pull over and say, all right, let's talk about what we're going to do instead. We can't go to the library today, or we can, and if you want to pay the $40 for parking, but I don't want to pay the $40 for parking. So, Samuel, unless you have $40 in your pocket, we're not going to the library right now. We're going to go to a different library, or we're going to go to the park, or we'll head up to the zoo, or what is it that you would like to do? That let's talk about what we can do. And I let them be involved in those things, especially when it's fly by the seat of our pants, because sometimes they have ideas that are perfectly awesome ideas that we didn't think about.
And sometimes you run out of time, and you start out going, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then everybody takes too long doing the first thing, and it's like, well, you have to explain.
Right.
That's at the expense of not going here or doing this or having this happen.
Right, absolutely. no. And I think it's good for them. I think it's really good for them. And I think that the communication is good for them when you're communicating about your rhythm as it happens. So,
And if you communicate why, if it really is because of things they're doing that's causing their rhythm to go
oh,
out,
absolutely.
then they need that explained to them so they can own it and go, okay, well,
If you take an hour to eat lunch at Del Taco, it's going to cut into your library time. Or into your zoo time, or into your park time, or
because they could take an hour and a half to eat lunch. They go really leisurely. Take them to the library first, and they'll sit there and read
Eric
their
has this
book.
whole plan that he does on Wednesdays, and they do this whole like long.
And they'll sit there for a long time.
They'll look at their books, eat their lunch. That's not a bad way to spend the afternoon.
No, you go to the library first, and then they're all interested in their books.
This is great. And seriously, it's not that we have exceptionally chill children, because we do not. Only Samuel. He's the only chill one. But sometimes, lately, oh my, he's not. But he might be chill, but he stirs it. And it gets Soraya going. And so, yeah.
Well, I was on an errand at an office supply store, and
I wasn't there, but I can picture it.
Soraya was going crazy, and then Sam stirred it, and I said, "Sam, you know better." And he said, "Yeah, but she started it." And I was like, "No, not acceptable answer."
No, you're 10, she's 5. So, the other thing I thought we would really talk about rhythm recovery when you get off. So, like, we could easily talk about, because last week that's what we did, because we had 4 days of Comic Con. And then, and even though we had a plan, I think if we hadn't had a plan, it would have been 1,000 times harder. We knew, because we know this is sort of like a crazy vacation time for us. We knew that meant that we would be off and that we would have some recovery. Yeah. So I think things that are important when you're coming out of that is to be, you two, us too, we had to be on the same page. We had to be like, okay, come Monday, this is what both of us are willing to do. And I think that's what's really important. You guys have to be on the same page, and you have to be like, all right, Dad, what are you going to be willing to contribute to make sure that rhythm happens on Monday? And that means that you got to plan on Sunday night. That means that, laundry's done and kids are in bed on time and dinner's on a good place on Sunday night. All of those things have to line up so that your Monday starts like it should. That means your kitchen needs to be clean Sunday night. So if you're looking at ways to really get started on either creating a rhythm for the first time or recovering one, you have to go, all right, what are the other circumstances that keep me from things happening like they should be? Is having a messy kitchen keeping you from getting up and making breakfast and getting yourselves moving in the morning? If it is, why? Kitchen clean the night before. Look at those things that are triggers within your home, that are issues that mess up your rhythm, and really, really commit together that you're going to work on them. Because I think that if we didn't work on that together, it would be, well, because I think about my life before him, before Eric. It was like my ex-husband, he wouldn't help with that kind of stuff. And so that caused a lot of contention, because he had all of these expectations. Where's the dinner? Why are you so behind? Why is this house a mess? But even though he was gone at work, there were things he could have done to help with that rhythm during the day. Things that he could have done to support me in that rhythm during the day. Even if it had just been like, how can I help? Is there something I can do to help? You look like you need a break. Let's make sure you get a break. I'm going to take the kids for 30 minutes. Why don't you go close your eyes, rest, go for a walk, do something. So there are things, mom needs that restorative time too. So there are things like that really help the rhythm when you can have that little bit of restoration. Now, Eric and I, we sort of really like our restoration together. I mean, and that doesn't mean it's always sex, but I mean, like, we enjoy spending time together. So I have plenty of alone time as I need it, and he gets alone time as he needs it. But usually a lot of our quiet time we spend together because we like hanging out together. But that's different for everybody. So you really have to work on what works for the two of you, and also really think about how sacred your marriage is. And I know a lot of you are struggling, or some of you are struggling, and we're going to keep continuing working on that and over the next few weeks, and hopefully it's getting better. Hopefully that through temperament, learning about holding the space, and now really looking at your rhythm, it's helping. I think so many struggles that I see from my consulting and with homeschoolers, it's rhythm help because mom and dad aren't on the same page with rhythm. If you can get dad on board, and so dads that are listening, if you can get on board with rhythm, it makes mom's job 1,000 times easier. Like 1,000 times easier. And it can be as simple as, hey babe, let me do these dishes for you tonight so that you can go to bed. Because I know you need to get up before these kids. Because getting up before your children makes you a woman and a half. Because you have had 5 seconds, sometimes an hour, to actually think without them running around you. So if you're really balking about the idea of getting up before your kids, I'm telling you, it's magical. And it doesn't matter what your temperament is. Every temperament that I've worked with that has actually done it has said, I don't know why I didn't do this before. Why didn't I understand before that I just needed to get up before my kids? It is so much different than staying up after they're in bed. So you want to actually, have that staying up. Uh-oh. Storage is almost full. Okay.
Oh, there's probably not enough room. We have to figure that out.
Okay.
The different kinks. And
Different kinks,
looks
yes.
a lot better.
This looks better, and this is
the frame
better.
rate's not dropping.
But Eleanor has a lot of crap on her phone. So, but you really have to look at the things that mess you up from not having the rhythm that you need. So, when you can do that, then I think you can really find those triggers and really, really work at those. Total struggle with waking in the morning. So this is what I do. This is my secret because I've got 5 kids and I was not good at it with the little ones until I started our business and I said, and God said, you're going to do this. And I said, how, when? I don't have any time. And he said, you're going to get up before your kids. And when I realized that was this universal truth, it was huge. So this is how you do it. You have a smartphone or a laptop, put it next to your bed. When you get up in the morning, if you're having a hard time getting up and letting you get out of the bed, just quietly sit up and answer your email. Quietly sit up and put your headphones in and listen to a podcast. Get yourself in a good meditative space. Even if you're in the bed, you can be awake. And you can get yourself up. Ask if dad leaves before you, ask him to get you a glass of water, or if you do coffee or a soda or something, and set it on the nightstand so that you can, and a snack maybe, so that you can sit up and get yourself moving. And that doesn't mean, like I said, doesn't mean you have to get out of bed. You know how many of our books were written in bed? A lot. Because that was, especially with Sam and Soraya, they were little. And so sometimes they would let me get out of the bed, and sometimes I would have to go back, nurse a baby, and get them back to sleep, and then finish working in bed. And so I have gotten really good at that. So for the child who crawls in your bed at 3 a.m., because that's Soraya, I often will just get up and go back to bed with her because we kind of like having our bed empty. For certain reasons. But so it's easier for me to go and get back in bed with her and settle her down in her bed. And sometimes I'm there all night long, and that still means that our bed is empty. And then so I can come back to our bed, in the morning for our time. And so, just work on that. I think that, there's so many ways. So many times moms say to me, oh, I just can't make this work. Or dads say, I don't know how this is going to work. Guess what? When you work together, it will work. You have to be willing to come up with different ways to do things than you've done it before. And once you are willing to do that, then things like magically, beautifully happen. So, be willing to do that. And
I wish I knew how much time we have because I'd hate to
know.
get cut off.
I think we better.
There's a lot
wrap it
of
up.
different things to talk about. Because one thing I was thinking about was how teenagers sometimes get very different agendas. They want to have they want to make their own food because they don't like what we're eating, and they have different. And so it's like we have to figure out a way that it's still, we can honor it, but it could still
totally. And I think what
works within the whole group.
Because our big boys were like, they were so easy, but Eleanor's like, oh, I want to do this. It's like she wants to have her own apartment in her room, and we're just her kitchen. And so we had to sort of have a coming to Buddha moment about that. And I said, if you would like to make different food, then you need to sit down with me when I do the menu. It's just like, what?
There's like
It's
more
all
ways.
different? I can't do it my way? No, you cannot.
Because then it interrupts what we're trying to do.
Well, it does, and so we sort of have kitchen hours,
Yeah.
and it's imperative that you get the teenagers to really understand the rhythm, and that you get them to succumb to the rhythm. I mean, it's not like cracking a whip, but it's like, hello, this is for everybody. So, I try to really get, and she's been much better at it. I got to tell you, like, I really like 15-year-old Ellie. I did not like 13-year-old Ellie much at all. She was really
And we've
hard.
told her that.
We've told her that. But you know what? I have a lot of clients with 13-year-old girls, and I'm like, what is going on? There's something about 13-year-old girls. It's no bueno.
Yeah,
No bueno at all. It's hard.
it is.
Because the boys were so easy. They were so easy at 13 and 14 and 15 and
It's a
19
different
and 17. And whew, boys are harder when they're younger. I definitely agree with that. That bit of like social, that little social bit, because you hear that all the time. Boys are easier or harder when they're younger, easier when they're older. Yep.
Yeah.
And girls, they're just fun the whole time. Not all girls for sure, but anyways, I think we probably better.
Yeah, I don't
close
wanna
that.
get cut
I don't want to
off.
get cut off. So if you have more questions, please let us know in the comments, and if you're listening on the replay, definitely. And you guys know you can send us emails, personal emails. We've talked to several of you on personal PM chats. You can email us or PM us. You are welcome to do that. Dads and moms. I've had dads send me PMs and dads send Eric PMs. It's great. You should do that. You should absolutely utilize us for that bit of coaching as well. So I hope you guys have a good day. Eric's going to go take a nap now. I'm going to get my day started. Have a good day. Bye now.